Greetings, opera lovers. It's Rona, live from Pittsburgh. I've had a very busy opera weekend. I started out by seeing almost 2 full operas on Saturday here in Pittsburgh. We have a summer opera fest. And I saw an opera called Carmen the Gypsy, which is a shortened version of Carmen. And then at night, I saw Magic Flute, slightly shortened. Act 2 was shortened about 15 minutes, thank God. 2 delightful productions, especially Magic Flute. It was done by Pittsburgh Opera Theater. More about that at another time, maybe. It was really a wonderful, wonderful experience. But the reason I'm making this clip is because I just finished watching Goetterdaemmerung, live streamed from the Bavarian State Opera House in Munich. I have never seen Goetterdaemmerung before, and actually today I didn't make all of it. I could not see Act 1. Unfortunately, I have a life and some things come up and I just have to take care of them. But I did catch from Act 2 on till the very end, every single second. I knew what the production was about, so I wasn't too confused by the men in shirts and ties and the building. It's a modern interpretation of the story having to do with the financial crisis, perhaps the fall down of the downfall of Europe and the euro, who knows. But it was a great experience to see something live from such a wonderful opera house. As this was my first time seeing Goetterdaemmerung, although I've heard the music many times, I was interested in seeing how it was all played out, and there were a lot of ups and downs. I would say the biggest down were the costumes. Aside from the fact that the men were wearing suits and ties, which it neither bothered me nor appealed to me. The women's costumes were so awful that I have to mention it. I have never felt that need before, although I've seen some pretty awful costumes. Apparently, all the goddesses had long blonde wigs. They were bad wigs. Didn't they ever hear of good wigs? And the goddesses wore white. Brunhilde was played gloriously by Nina Stemmer. I have yet to hear her live. I've heard her only on YouTube clips and on the radio. I wouldn't say I was a big fan of hers. I neither loved her nor disliked her. I can tell you this, she was fabulous as Brunhilde today. She was just stunning in every aspect of her portrayal. First of all, even if she didn't have a good voice, her acting was so convincing you wouldn't have cared what kind of voice she had. But her voice was superb. It was round and unforced and glorious and even from top to bottom. I'm not such a big fan of the tone of her voice overall, and especially on the bottom, but it's still a great instrument. But the way she used it was just thrilling. And by the time she got to her great immolation scene, she had power to burn. I bet she could have sung the whole opera again. So going over some of the highlights of this opera from Munich, aside from Miss Stemmer, the most interesting person in the cast was the woman who played Gutruna. Her name was Anna Gabler. I do not know who she is. I've never seen her name before. I just loved her voice and the way she portrayed Gutruna. It wasn't one of those typical Wagnerian sounds, yet it was full and rich and fit completely into the whole Fach of Wagner. Then there was the American tenor, whose name I didn't write down. It'll come to me later. I think his last name is Gould. He did a good job. It's a hard role, and he tired a little here and there. He has a pretty voice. and he's a big guy. The other men were all good. Nobody really outstandingly good, nobody outstandingly bad. I know that there is a lot of good press for the conductor, Kent Nagano. Had I not known it was a world-class conductor, I would not have felt that this was a very tippy-top rendering of the score. Just my own prejudice. Also, as I saw this as sort of I would see an HD feed, I can say that we here in the States are very lucky that the Met HD feeds are beautifully done with the camera work, the way the camera pans around the scenery from side to side of the stage, back and forth, close-ups of the singers, far shots. In today's production, there really wasn't enough good camera work. Of course, the camera moved from character to character, but overall, it was disappointing. I don't even want to talk about the sets. I didn't care for it at all. But I would like to compare it somewhat to the Met's production of The Ring. For the Met, I'd seen two productions, Das Rheingold and Die Walküre. I saw Das Rheingold in a movie theater and Walküre live. And now I've seen almost all of Goetterdaemmerung on the equivalent of an HD feed. Two different productions. And there were a lot of complaints about the Met production. I know I've heard every single one of them. I liked it. I still like it. And the thing that reminded me so much of why I did like it is because it was magic. And this opera had no magic. Today's production from Munich was dreary. And the lighting was dark. And the scenery was just not thrilling. There was nothing to really get excited about. In fact, the immolation scene was disappointing. I did not see the Met's rendition of Goetterdaemmerung. I also heard that the immolation scene was disappointing as well. I don't know from personal experience just what I read. Of course, I might have read the things that I would have disagreed about. So there you have it. Two different productions. One from the Met, fanciful and technological, that the critics loved to rip apart. From Munich, a modern interpretation that people are going to say was a great representation of the story taken into a modern vein. To me, give me magic any day. I don't need to see reality. If I want reality, I just have to go outside my front door. I don't have to go into an opera house and, be reminded of it. If there are dragons, let there be dragons. And magic fire, let there be magic in the fire. So today's performance, while I certainly appreciate seeing this great opera live, it didn't do for me what I was hoping it would do. Yet I am very grateful to the Bavarian State Opera for streaming this to the States. And I hope all of you will get a chance to watch one of their productions. They're terrific, and you get to hear first-class singing all around. Hope to see you again soon. Good night from Pittsburgh.